So it is very possible. We've showed, I think, Egyptians that once they got up and they said this is what we want, that they managed to do incredible things. So it is very possible in 6 months.
Okay, great. Let's move on to Al-Wafd. From Al-Wafd we read, more reports are being filed against corrupt figures. Investigation is open against the owner of Al Salam and Suzanne's brother. Do you have any comments on that?
That's exactly what I was saying, that things like this is something that's been open and shut, closed case, no way, even with, you had how many people demonstrating against that, and this is not fair, and families, nothing happened. But just because of the recent history, the 3 weeks, things like this will be brought back to surface, people will be tried, justice will be.
Do you think a lot of papers are trying to cover these particular topics now to regain credibility?
It will take time, especially, state media. When you had a front page cover in a week saying, millions turn out to support ex-President Mubarak, and then a week later saying, we won. This kind of, schizophrenia seen in the ideas of many people, it will take a long time. Right. But things like this, showing that, okay, we're willing, things like, state TV presenters actually resigning, even you had Hafiz al-Marazi on Al-Arabiya, who was a presenter, saying that, this is the policies of channels need to change, freedom of media, expression. So it will take time, but it is also very possible, especially if we have people calling for the resignation of the editors of Al-Ahram, that the employees themselves are saying this isn't right, that we need to change our policies.
Right.
But also, another reason people are covering this could be to show that, okay, under the military, to give a little bit of credibility to the system, which will work, that no, things will change, to kind of give people, to tell them that things will change, calm down a little bit, we will be doing change.
But don't you think there needs to be a little bit, with regards to the media, be it radio, television or printed press, don't you think there needs to be a little bit of a dislocation from wherever government, so you don't have to turn into a government, a mouthpiece for the government?
This should be the reality. This is what media should do. And I think this has been proven to us in the past 3 weeks. Unfortunately, state TV was kind of made a joke. It was a joke for a lot of people. When you had camels and horses running through, and then state media saying there's nothing going on, and there's footage. It's being proven. The idea that we need to have free media, especially now when you have so much international media covering us. It's become redundant. It's become ridiculous to actually try and cover up the truth. That would have been possible if there was no media, no other media outlet.
Right.
But again, then you have internet and social media.
That's why I'm saying it shouldn't be state-run, because at the end of the day, you've got so many other entities trying to interfere.
Cover.
Exactly. And trying to
send their own agenda.
Censor what you say and what you don't say.
This is a message that's been we've been saying it out loud for a long, long time, and
hopefully we'll see more change in the coming weeks. Let's still with Al-Wafd. We're reading that the Egyptian cyber activists who were the driving force behind the uprising that overthrew former President Hosni Mubarak said they had met the country's military rulers to discuss democratic reform. Google executive Wael Ghanem and blogger Amr Salama said they met the army to understand their point of view and lay out their own views, which is what you were saying earlier, that it's important for them, that they're more pivotal
in their role. And the idea that the military is actually giving that credence, not just saying that they're just the youth, or that's actually understanding that they do have a very strong voice. They aren't just, the Facebook youth, that their demands are just as legitimate. I don't think, if you would think of it, that the military, or even, when they did for the people who died, when the military gave them respect and said, silence for the people who died. That was incredible. The idea that no, your concerns are legitimate, they do have weight, we are listening, and we will work hard.
Okay. Well, our final article from Al-Wafd says France says that it is ready to cooperate with the Egyptian judiciary regarding Mubarak's wealth. Within Europe, there's been a lot of controversy or conflicting opinions, don't you think?
This idea, $70 billion, someone you had Swiss, freezing the assets.
It's a ridiculous amount of money.
It's a ridiculous amount of money, and if it is actually very true, then I think that'll just, there really are no words for a country where we were just saying 40% of people live on less than $2 a day, and people have been suffering for so long under poverty and corruption and unemployment. The country.
And if I stand corrected, maybe I think Egypt's debt is $40 billion.
What to say against that? So there's been a lot of conflicting reports, but I think it'll all come out. Now there is there's really everyone's, even, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton just, this early this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, she was discussing how, Egypt is now a model for democracy, how we're all going to follow. Of course, the U.S. has changed its stance regarding to Egypt as things progress, but now I think everyone, once our previous president is gone now and it's been proven, there's no reason for anyone to kind of cover up or to show. Things will come to light, things will come out, and we will see very soon if this was actually the case.
Great, okay. Let's move on to our final paper for today. It's Al-Ahrar. From it we read on page 1, Mubarak ignored hundreds of reports on corruption.
Yeah. I think it's been, it's been very clear. All these things, people knew. People, or on some sense, it was clear that the previous administration wasn't really listening to the concerns of the people. Even, reports now saying that even during the protests, the president wasn't fully aware or wasn't fully briefed or of actually what was really happening on the ground. We've seen it, cases you were just talking about, the ferry, right? The ferry, something like that just walk free and nothing. Right. Even cases, Hisham Talat Mustafa, there's been a lot of, especially the big businessman Ahmed Izz, everyone who's been reported, businessmen, ministers, Habib Al-Adli, things that are very clear cut, that this isn't something shady, this isn't something that, it could be innocent or could be not. Clear cases of corruption and nothing was done. So it isn't really a surprise to say that what we will have to see now is whether this is going to change.
Okay. Also, we're still with Al-Ahrar, still with page 1, the police uprising. Hundreds of police in uniform and plainclothes marched in Cairo's Tahrir Square. Policemen said that they wanted to honor the martyrs of the revolution. They also demanded that former Minister of Interior Habib Al-Adli be brought to justice, along with those who have caused the bloodshed that killed Egyptian youths and members of the police force. I'm thinking that, just off the top of my head, do you think the police needs to do something for the martyrs or the martyrs' families to kind of, again, I mean, it's a huge tragedy. So do you think maybe they can, in some way...
It could give back a little bit, especially if the initiative, there's been a lot of Ashanik Ya Masr, there's been a lot of groups that have been set up in websites calling for collecting donations for the family members, doing memorials. Even in Tahrir now, when I was driving, there is an actual stand of pictures and wreaths and flowers in memory of them. But if the police themselves actually do something, and this is their own initiative, and it's something truly that has worth, it isn't just something to say that we did something, it could help reinstate this kind of sense.
From what I understand, also policemen are saying that there were policemen killed.
There was, yes, and I saw there have been a lot of people walking around with pictures in their protest, in the police protest. They have been carrying a picture of a policeman who was killed. Because of course they were also beaten, and you also have to remember that they are Egyptians, regardless of we cannot generalize and say that the entire police force, the Egyptian police force, has been treating Egyptians in the recent history, even though with all the corruption in the police force. Because of course there are of them who are Egyptian, who were with the people who did not want that. So we have to make sure we don't want to, villainize the police force forever. Because in the end they are, we respect our military. Everyone, did you see people, how they greeted the military?
But do you think also they need to make an effort to rebuild that trust? With regards to their actions, because again, there was a lot of
and there is still, and there will be for a long time. But only actions, only behavior and how they continue to deal with the future and how they continue to deal with people, that's the only thing that will reach. You can't just, it won't happen in a day and night. It won't happen just because they say, oh, we're very sorry, or we won't do this again, or we'll bring so-and-so and so to justice.
Okay. Also from Al-Ahrar, and still with page 1, The Guardian says that Mubarak lives in isolation in Sharm el-Sheikh. Amnesty International says that Mubarak and his vice president failed in the human rights tests.
Yeah, it's interesting. No one was saying this before. Everyone in the beginning was saying, no, we should all peace and stability. But yeah, like you were just saying, in Sharm el-Sheikh, you have other countries saying in Dubai, other countries saying no one really knows. That's the question, $1 million question now. Where is he, and what's going to happen? But yeah, now that you say a tragedy to human rights, this is what happened, especially since the protesters were peaceful, especially since a lot of people, coming out now, telling their stories, Ashara Masan just recent days ago, people from and I think one of the most interesting things about, a lot of people were saying the protests were just all the poor and the people who were unemployed, but actually no, there were a lot of people in the protests. Yesterday I was at the American University in Cairo. You had hundreds of students pray the funeral prayer for those who died and sit and make supplication for them. A lot of the sons and daughters of the most influential families were there and did get hurt, and that these stories show that it was Egyptians. It wasn't just because people were suffering from some kind of social or economic problem. Even those who weren't understood that the political system was corrupt and that this wasn't possible for it to continue for the people.
And I think what's also interesting about the revolution was the fact that it involved all people from all social strata. It wasn't
ages, different groups, different genders. I think this is the idea that the Egyptian people stood up and said, this is us, we demand our rights, it won't change, because things have changed completely. The cleaning, that was just incredible. The idea that a mentality can be changed, that, the wheel, if you can say it, we can't go back from now. People have seen, I see the statue of Abdel Menem Riyad, and people were actually painting it again, and you have a flag in his hand. This pride in our national identity, this patriotism. I'm optimistic that this will continue, that this is a new Egyptian mentality. We will take pride in our country, where we will take pride in seizing our own destiny and our own future. So inshallah this will
we'll see a better future for Egypt. Ethar, thank you very much for joining me on the Breakfast Show. Let me take you now to a report. Protests in Tahrir Square have calmed down recently after Mubarak stepped down and left the responsibility of the presidency to the armed forces. However, people are still holding protests in front of State TV building, trying to get the attention of officials to consider their problems as the new government is being restructured. Nine International's Reem Noor has the story.